Hello everyone, I'm an AI scientist at Microsoft, and today I'm excited to guide you through hosting your own custom embedding models in Azure Functions utilizing a powerful Hugging Face API, and how we're gonna use this in Azure AI Search for building a end-to-end production level rack. Let's try to create a custom embedding model which is hosted on Azure. So to do that, you should go to extensions and just search for Azure and just install Azure tools. Once you install this, it will automatically install Azure functions, resources, account, databases, app service, and tools. Okay. And once you do that, you'll see an icon here which is says Azure. Once you come here, you'll see a sign in button here. Just click on the sign in button. It will take you to portal.azure.com where you just need to sign in using your regular account which we used for creating the database and uploading the data to the Cosmos DB. So once you do that, you need to come to workspace, and here there is a small button which is mainly useful for us, which is a function app button. The first thing you need to do is that let's create a function app in Azure, and let's try to give it as like a get um, embedding small. Okay, and let's select Python 3.1 and East US, and it will basically create a function app itself. As you can see, it might take some time to create this function app, but yeah. And let's try to see if it actually created the function app in our Azure account itself. So let's try to go here. Let's try to see portal.azure.com. um, let's try to go to our function app, and so far it has not been created, so let's wait for it to finish. So you can see it successfully got created right now. Then just click on refresh, and uh, it might take some time to reflect, but you can see that here itself. Just click on refresh and go to function apps. You should be able to see your function app here. Next, we should create a code which can actually upload our custom, take a input text of a question and answer and upload it uh, back to the function app itself. So let's create a new function, and let's select the folder which we are currently in. Let's select Python. Let's select model version 2, which is the latest model, and select the default Python version. And let's select for now HTTP trigger. Let's give the trigger name get custom embedding. Okay, and let's select function here. Okay, and you can see it created some files here, and these files are just the default ones uh, itself. And you can see the current default function basically takes the input name and just clicks on the output. So let me actually like paste the current function app which we will be using, and I'm going to explain. It's just a very small changes itself. So the first thing, which is like very small changes itself, the first thing is that I'm trying to use a API from Hugging Face. I'll post all the code in like GitHub. The first thing I'm trying to do is that I'm going to use um, all the API from the Hugging Face instead of just trying to create a our own like sentence transformer models and trying to load it. And there is a specific reason why I'm trying to do that. whenever you actually try to use any of the external like packages, you just need to install them here, like in here. But the problem here is that as we are using a free version of the function app, whenever you try to install sentence transformers, it tries to install like the torch and other packages which are very heavy. And because of that reason, you won't be able to use upload it to the function app, because the free tier of function app has a limit of like 1.5 gigs itself, but the torch and touch vision are like pretty huge, which is required by the sentence transformer. So that's one of the main reason. So if you have like a function app with like a different plan which you can create in portal.azure.com, like a premium plan, you can do that, host your own model instead of trying to use the API of the Hugging Face. But for simplicity, I'm using the Hugging Face thing. So as you can see that it basically doesn't do that much. It basically takes input text and basically sends the input text to the Hugging Face API. And once it goes there, it tries to get the response of it and tries to add it to the vector of the input data. And you can see that it might be quite confusing why we are doing this one. There's a specific reason why we are doing this one in this way. And the reason would be, if you come here, like, and if you type like Azure a custom embedding, and if you go to the custom embedding a scale, it does require the input and output in a certain format. That's the reason you can do that. So you can see that whenever the Azure AI search hits the function app, it actually sends the data in this format, which is like data record ID will be auto generated, and inside the data, your question and answers for our case will be here. So that's the reason you see this one here. In the output, the only thing you need to do is that you should actually take the text and basically change it with the vector which it is available, or any other vector name which you have. So that's the reason we are going to do this. For simplicity, I'm going to paste the input one here. Mm, this is our input, so that you're pretty much aware of like why we are actually doing this one here. And this would be our output, and let's paste the output here. So this would be our output. So, and let's command shift. So that's the reason we do here. And imagine if your input does have like a question, you can still do that question and answer here. And imagine that in our case we do have like question and answer, but we are just trying to do it on the question level itself. So this should be enough for us. And the next most important thing is that running the app locally to even test whether it's working or not. So to do that, you should just click on function and the leftmost key and F5 on Mac, and it's Control F5 on Windows. And as you can see that it actually throws some error for us as it couldn't find the request package. So let's try to run the request package here, and let's try to rerun by saying command function. um, let's try to rerun function F5, and you can see that it actually ran successfully. And once it successfully runs, it basically gives you the link where you can test it. And other important thing is that once you go to the extensions, try installing Thunder client. So we do require for testing it in Visual Studio Code, but if you want to use Postman, you can do it otherwise. But once you install Thunder client, you will see an icon which is like a flash icon here, and inside that you can create a new request. So I do have the request created for my test purpose, but I'm basically adding it here. So let's try to give question here, and this is a text document. You can see that I basically got the output which is required. And but it actually thrown an error. Actually, this output is from previous one, and it basically says there is error called text. So we are trying to access something which is not there. So in this case, I think the deletion, like once I like created inside the data, there is a thing called vector, and we need to remove the input one, which is the question. So that's the error here. Let's try to do function fi again. Or let's try to stop it and do it. Let's go to the terminal, delete the terminal, and click on function fi. And once you do that, let's go to the Thunder client again. Let's try to test it. And you can see it's success now, and it basically returns the vector. And this is our input. You can see that inside the data there is a question. Now it will be replaced by just the vector. So let's try to do one more thing here. Instead of just vector, let's try to do name it as a question vector. Okay. I'm not sure whether we can do it or not, but let's try to say we rename it as a question vector instead of just vector. Let's try to do that again. Delete it, go to the function app, function F5, and you basically run this thing again, and you'll see the question vector on output. The next thing is very easy. You go to the Azure icon again, click on the same icon, and click on deploy to function app. You'll see a pop-up, and it shows the function app which we currently have. So let's try to this, and this is the app which we created, and it will show that whether we want to overwrite it. Just click on deploy, and you'll see a right side thing where it tries to see whether it can deploy it or not. As you can see, I tried deploying it multiple times of the sentence transformers by locally, but I couldn't do that. The only reason is it does have more like a does require more memory, and I don't have that in the free tier. It doesn't allow that. So, and I'm trying to deploy it. So you can see the deployment is successful. Okay. App, and inside the app you can actually see the URL. Now you can come to VS Code, and instead of local URL you can paste your custom URL itself. I think to get the exact URL, go to the function and click on get the function app and copy that, and you can do this here. Okay, so it's working fine. Even the URL from the function website is working fine. So